Hello, Garland Nixon here, and it's Saturday evening. We're hanging out with Dr. Jim Kavanagh, and we've got war stuff going on that we can talk about that is inextricably linked to the pending economic catastrophe that's creating possibly, potentially, a pre-revolutionary moment. Let's talk. Oops. Hello, Garland Nixon here. We're hanging out with Dr. Jim Kavanagh, and we got a lot to talk about right now. And we got the wars that we certainly got to discuss. And but not just the wars. We also have to talk about how that's affecting things at home and the economic situation. Dr. Jim Kavanagh, let's start here. The Iran conflict, which is, this is about, as you and I both discussed, there's a lot of things going on here, but at the foundation here is Zionism. The foundation of this, our problems in the Middle East are Israel, and like, they're so nuts. They're like, well, after we get finished with this, we, meaning you, get finished with Iran, then we, meaning you, got to fight Turkey. They're complete lunatics. Anyway, your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, it's such again, this is not a war about the Strait of Hormuz or about nuclear weapons, Iran's non-existent nuclear weapons. This is a war about their axis of resistance against Zionism. And Israel the purpose of this war was to get Iran destroyed as a backbone of the axis of resistance, as Israel got Iraq and Libya and Syria destroyed. Those wars were all successes. Everybody has to get it out of their heads. Oh, we failed in Iraq. We failed. No. The Iraqi government is controlled by the United States. Every dime of Iraqi oil revenue goes to the American Treasury. Syria is a disaster. Syria is now owned by Israel and the United States. Libya is out of it. These countries are out of the axis of resistance. And that's what Israel wanted. That's what it got. That's what it's got the United States to do for them, and Europe, in case of Libya, certainly. And that's what they want from this. So behind what's going on today now, which is over the Strait of Hormuz, and will we get another negotiation, and we have the oil supplies and blah, blah, is Iran going to be eliminated as a backbone of the axis of resistance? And Iran seems to be saying, because Iran has it's a country, it has national interests that it says, and it's acting accordingly, have been tied to being part of the axis of resistance and opposing Zionism and opposing the Greater Israel Project, which is in process. Okay, so the question is, what's going to happen with that? And all of this other things going on right now are really secondary to that. And it's hard to see where this is going to go. Now we have Iran and the United States are back striking at each other. Bam, bam, bam. And Israel is sitting back saying, Smotrich said, hey, this is what we don't have to attack Iran right now. We're going to sit back and watch Iran and the United States fight. And Iran is attacking back, but it's attacking American bases, and it's attacking American bases in the Gulf, and it may bring in Yemen. It is bringing Yemen to maybe attack Saudi Arabia. So it's attacking the Persian Gulf countries, not directly attacking Israel right now. And, at some point, the main point, the nub of this issue has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed militarily, and Israel has to be defeated. And I don't know when that's going to happen, how that's going to happen. Iran has to make decisions about that. To what extent are they going to put themselves under, because they will be nuked. So we're in the middle of this kind of strange war. I had a friend who once went on a little road trip in southwestern U.S. and he went into a little town in New Mexico border, and went to the bar, was having some drinks, talking to the people on the bar. He's talking to this one guy at the bar, and the guy was talking about, oh, you come from New York, must be a lot of crime there. And my friend said to him, so do you have a lot of crime here? And the guy said, no crime, just shootings. So to a certain extent, we got the Americans and the Iranians shooting up. They're shooting up now. But is there a war? Is there not a war? What are they fighting over? And these are the things that, at some point, Iran will not, this, as I said in my article of the title, this war will end when Zionism does. Or when Iran is rendered amenable and capitulates to the Zionist project and Zionist hegemony in the Middle East, which it doesn't seem it's going to do. But the decision hasn't, the final outcome of that has not come yet. And it's going to be a hell of a fight that they're going to get into. And they seem to be ready for it. And they are, I think, militarily ready for it. So we're all sitting back, kind of anxiously watching where this is going to go and how it's going to play out. And I don't think any of us have the answer to it or can predict exactly what's going to happen. Iran has done very well. It is doing very well, but the fundamental issue has not been resolved.
Exactly. And which for all of these things, I think we should bounce back and forth for these issues between the United States and Israel. So let's take it back home. People, man, you looking around, you look online, look at Twitter when Marco Rubio tweets something. Look down the line of what's people are tweeting, right? Any of these people, when they tweet something about when Ben Shapiro or whoever, they tweet something positive about Israel or Trump should do this, or Mark Levine, go down. This is the line underneath. People hate his guts. They hate Israel. These are conservatives. These are the Democrats. These are everyone. So as what's the book? I got it right here. Peter Turchin in Times, as he talks about the difference between when the distance between the elites and the working class gets wider and wider, you get this instability. So you have an elite that is a ruling class and a political class that they are Zionists is their religion, and I don't mean in the Jewish way. I mean Zionism is their religion, right? Yeah. But you got these people in America growing. It's not that they don't like it. They despise Zionism. I've heard people say, they're like, they're reading on the news. Go look online. There's the stuff in the newspaper that says, oh, yes, they're talking about in December selective service. And people are like, over my dead body. I'll go out in the blaze of glory. They'll never take my kids. I'm like, man. So that's when I mean pre-revolutionary moment, when the distance between the elite and Zionism and Israel is really at the foundation, at the bottom of that, because people are screaming, hey, there's a foreign country. Why are we dying for them? This foreign country, they rule. Anyway, your thoughts on back home, what's happening here?
Well, look, CNN just did a thing showing Republicans, everybody is against Israel now. Everybody favors the Palestinians over the Israelis. This is the quickest. I was astounded and I'm delighted by it. Within 2 years, the American public's perception of Israel and Zionism has just transformed because they've seen what Zionism is. What we watched over the last 2 years, what we're watching now in the West Bank, this is what the Zionists did in 1946 to 48. They killed and expelled 80% of the Palestinians. They were a vicious colonial enterprise, and they still are. And this is what it's about, and it's not over. I've always said the question of does Israel have the right to exist should be replaced with does Israel have the possibility to exist? Because it's not yet secure as the Jewish supremacist state it wants to be, and it won't be until it expels or kills the most of the remaining Palestinians, which it's in the process of doing. So the question we are all asked to consider is, do we want to be part of that? And do we as a country want to be part of that? Do we want to put our treasure and our blood into that? And the answer of the ruling class, of the political class and the media class is yes, we do, And so that's exactly what Ben Shapiro goes. And not only Ben Shapiro, John Fetterman, yes, our sons and daughters should be going to fight for Israel. So, the American people have had it with that. And I hope they realize now, remember what I said, all of those wars, Libya, Iraq, Syria, that was the largest CIA operation ever in the Syrian rebel operation, where we were on the side of Al-Qaeda and supported Al-Qaeda. That was acknowledged. and Iraq, which how many hundreds of thousands, millions of people were killed, and the American soldiers were fighting there for how many years? And what was the result of it? Nothing that helped the people of the United States. Only Israel got what it wanted from it. They got what they wanted from those wars. So now, as this is part of a larger spectrum of things, but I think, people who argue and have different perspectives on how the United States should develop its economic policies and its social policies, all of them are saying one thing we don't want is we don't want the United States guaranteeing with its soldiers, with its blood and its money, the existence of the Zionist enterprise and the Jewish supremacist state. We have that's not our interest. And Crystal Ball was pretty good about that with this guy, Adam Smith, when she got on and said, well, why should you? You claim to be a liberal. You claim to believe in equality. This isn't equality. This is ethno-supremacy. And why should we, as Americans, guarantee this ethno-supremacist project? It's nothing to do with us. And I don't want to spend a dime on it, and I don't want to spend a life on it. And that's what's happening now. People are seeing, we're going to have $80 billion spending appropriation to make up for all the weapons we've used defending Israel and fighting Iran on behalf of Israel. And we're going to have to if we're going to have a ground war, we're going to have to bring back the draft, and we're going to have people drafted. So we want this. This is something the American people, and that's the principal thing. The American political and media elite do. They are committed as a quasi-religious thing. They are committed to guaranteeing the success of the Zionist project. Bill Clinton, who was excoriated by the Republicans for avoiding the draft in Vietnam, got up and said, if I would take a gun and I would go fight for Israel if I had to. And nobody thought that was any problem. Nobody even knows about that. But he said it. The Republicans didn't say, look at this guy. He's willing to fight for Israel. They didn't say that. They won't say that about that. So Joe Biden, I'm a Zionist. Nobody's going around saying I'm an Islamist. What are you talking about? So this is a deep psychological and psychopolitical commitment of the people in run this country, and everybody was kind of going along with it for 78 years, and suddenly everybody realized, wait a minute, this is baloney, and it's costing us. So we're in a situation where we can't afford it. Everybody realizes we really can't afford it as a country in any way. And there's no reason for it. It's kind of disgraceful and disgusting that we would put ourselves in this fight where children are being slaughtered and amputated every day. I saw a thing today, a tweet, a young 5-6-year-old girl, Mommy, when are my legs going to grow back? And that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. Israel targeted children and women in tents. They burned children and women alive in tents. They shot children in the head and the chest. This wasn't a mistake because they consider the Palestinian Arabs lesser human beings whose job it is to get out of their way. And they'll either kill them to get them out of their way, or they'll force them out of the country, or they'll make them live as subjugated slaves. And the latter, the last of those options is difficult because slaves always fight back. And it's very difficult in the modern world to get away with that, but they are getting away with it because the United States, Western European powers are supporting them, and none of the rest of the world is really doing what it has to do to stop them, which is an international military intervention. Now, but what you're saying is also true. This feeds in to the absolute break and disruption and divorce of the American populace, American people with the elites that run the country. They're not doing anything for them. They want to give all the money and arms to Israel. You can't build a road. You can't build a highway. You can't build a high-speed train, but let's put up 150 data centers, come into a city where they can't fix the roads, but they can get millions of dollars for data centers in a week. And they get the city council to vote on it. This is everybody's up in arms about this. What is this for? What does this do for me? I want healthcare. I want housing. I don't want a data center. I don't want flock cameras or Axion. What's the other one? The
Axon. Yeah.
Axon cameras. I don't want to be surveilled. We can't fix up our house, but we could put up millions of dollars worth of cameras to track me around the state or the city or the country. All of that data is being fed into central databases that the federal government has access to, and that any corporation that wants to buy it has access to. This is nuts. So the people are waking up to this. Where's it going politically? It's very difficult. The politics of the country at the electoral and the levels that really rule things are very tightly controlled. And we lack a disciplined political organization with a mass base that's capable of fighting this and that has the means to fight it. It's very difficult to see. And I have to hope that something like that will happen. And it's going to be bad because, as you say, the economic situation is going to get a lot worse. There's nothing about it that can get better.
And if you read that again, that End Times, and this is what he talks about how when the distance between the elites and the working class gets but so far, you end up with political destabilization. And I think it's about 85% of the time it ends up with violence. You end up with violence. And what you're seeing, people look at their government, and their government, I mean, I got to add this. And people are looking, saying, you know what? I don't want to vote for these people. I don't. And here's what they're going to find out in November. They're like, oh, we're going to turn this over and put new people in. No, the hell they aren't. It's Thomas Massey. They robbed Massey. It is so clear when this guy that nobody heard of, that couldn't win a statewide seat, all of a sudden runs against the guy who's hated by the Zionists. And what do you know? I think it was 10,800 mail-in ballots came in, and he got like 300 of them. And he's the incumbent. Absurd, right?
Yep.
So he loses. There was like 54,000 new votes, and like all of them went to the new guy. And you're like, that. None of this makes sense. So what people are going to say is, you sons of bitches, come November, we'll show them once and for all. We're going to vote them out. We're going to put these people in, and they will. They'll go and they'll vote them out, and the bastards will win anyway. And they'll be like, perhaps people like Jim Kavanagh, who's been saying the system is fucked for the last 25 years, perhaps they were on to something here. Because I think people think they're going to vote these people out, because this voting is bullshit. It is thievery, and they'll win. But you'll see, like, Jess, every member of Congress won by exactly 1.79% in all demographics. That kind of bullshit. They're going to steal it. They're going to rob it. Forget it.
Yeah. Look. In fact, you reminded me something. I just saw it. I hope it's true that Massey putting up legislation to ban these surveillance cameras, to ban flock and Axon surveillance cameras. That would be really great. But yeah, you're right. This is the problem, and you can't have a reasonable discussion on this. As I said, I have many articles on the election system in the United States going back to 2008, 2012, I first actually wrote the article. But since 2000, we've known the electoral system is screwed up. Now, the Trump's Save America Act and Trump's bullshit about, the Chinese or Chinagate versus Russiagate. I mean, you got to get Donald Trump out of your head, but you have to look at the system. And it's very tricky in the United States because there are more than 50 different electoral systems. But, the worst thing, the most dangerous thing is the electronic voting machines, voting and counting machines, which have proprietary software. There should be no proprietary software in an election. It should all be open source. Everybody should have access to know how the system runs. Everything should be live streamed. The counting of the votes should be counted in the precinct. You shouldn't move a vote before it's counted. There's no reason for it. And they should be counted live streamed. There's no reason you can't do that. That's the way to use technology. It's very simple. It eliminates all kinds of bullshit. Mail-in ballots are a problem. Whatever Trump thinks of them, I don't care. Jimmy Carter and Jim Baker had a commission, and they said the biggest vector of potential fraud is mail-in ballots. You have you lose the chain of custody. You have the ability to harvest ballots. People going around. I'll fill out your ballot for you. You go to a homeless camp. So I'll give you $5. I'll give you a cigarette. Sign this form. You go to they can go to a senior citizen and say, I'll help you fill out this form. You just don't know. You lose. You need mail-in ballots for people who can't get to the polls. What you need is to keep people away from the polls, to have many polls as you need in neighborhoods. You need to have public transportation to get you to the polls. Make sure, but default mail-in ballots for everybody is really something that just introduces the possibility of fraud. And we're seeing in all these elections in Europe, in Latin America, look what happened to.
They
Colombia.
stole all those elections. They stole all of them.
This is now, they are making sure, and the Israelis are into this too.
Yes.
The French government has said the Israelis were involved in screwing around with our municipal elections. So you have to have a discourse, a real discussion about electoral integrity, the integrity of the electoral process in this country, that forgets Donald Trump. We need ranked choice voting. Save America Act wants, I think, to outlaw ranked choice voting. That's the word. That's one of the main things that we need. We cannot have a reasonable democracy without an electoral system that works, is transparent. Everybody knows how it works. Everybody has confidence that they voted. The person they voted for got the vote that they cast, and all of it is set up in a way that obvious possibilities to create fraud are not there. I have discussions with my Democratic friends. Oh, mail-in ballots are great. No, they're not great. Really be serious about this. This is not about Donald Trump. Oh, I say we should count the votes in the precinct. Live streamed. Everybody in the world can see it. Why not? Oh, well, that's just, what are you talking about? That's just. This is democracy. And it's kind of minimal element of democracy, so we don't have that. We don't have a minimal standard of what would be what I consider a fair electoral democracy. That's why I think our every third party in the country should boycott the vote, should say we're not going to vote until we're sure that we have some system that is pretty sure, we're pretty convinced that there's very little possibility of fraud, that our votes aren't being shifted around. When you have electronic voting systems that can shift votes, Joe Biden said it. It can undetectably shift votes. You have an electronic voting system that can shift votes. You have two or three third parties, the Greens and Libertarians and whatever. They get 5% of the votes among them. You can shift 2% of the vote from those three parties, and you win a close election. And nobody's going to know. You can't know. So unless you have open source, first of all, you should have paper voting, and they should be counted in the precinct, live streamed. You hire the people to do it. You don't, you have a professionalization of the electoral process. But again, this is we're stuck in this problem that we have 50 states. The states have control of this. And we have every county has who controls the county, who controls the state process, which party is in control. And every party is out to do what the policies that they think will help them the most. They're not out really to do, we want to build a transparent, fair electoral system that everybody has confidence in. We want to do what we think what's going to help us. And the crazy thing is that the mail-in ballots help the Republicans. That's always been the case. And that's what the Republicans are saying. Now, Trump is rails against mail-in ballots, but they've helped the Republicans more than the Democrats. And the Democrats used to say that. I have an article from 2014 in the New York Times. Electoral, the problem with mail-in votes is starting to be a problem because they were starting to become more prevalent. And it was all about, they were all Democrats and liberal judges and liberal lawyers and just saying, the mail-in votes are a problem, and they help the Republicans. So now you can't have the discussion. It's like, I don't want to get into that, but it's like the vaccines. You can have it. I mean, you can have a reasonable discussion about it. What side are you on? So I don't know. So this is to go back to your point. What we have is, a pre-revolutionary discontent, economically and politically, and the Zionist thing is important because economically and ideologically, it's really Epstein class, Israel. It's like, we don't like these people. Not just, right. There's an economic discontent where I can't buy a house. I can't buy a car. My life is, the groceries are impossible. My life is difficult. It's never going to get any better. Young people don't have in their mind an idea that, my life is going to be good. I'll be able to raise a family. They don't have that. So that's there. But you also have this other thing where these people are really despicable. I mean,
yes,
Israel
degenerates.
Is
They're degenerates.
But you have this Epstein class thing. You have people, the MAGA people who are pissed off at Trump, really, they despise him now. It's like, what are you doing? And you're spitting on us. And it's clear to everybody that the ruling class doesn't really give a damn about you. They'll say anything they can to get your damn vote or your money, but they'll do what they want. And they really don't care. They really can't what effect it has on you. They only care the extent with which they're, they want to keep you from turning the pitchforks on them. And that's why Donald Trump was elected, because Barack Obama said to the bankers, I'm going to save you from the pitchforks. And Donald Trump said, I'm bringing the pitchforks to Washington. And everybody thought he would. But really what he brought was Palantir.
Yeah. He was Obama. He was the conservative version of Obama, right? Yeah. Obama told the liberals everything they wanted to hear, right? Oh, the liberals wanted, and he was a brown person. Oh, we've got diversity and all these wonderful things that the liberals wanted to hear. Of course, when he got in, he really was a liberal, and he really got in, and he was a Wall Street puppet, right? Yep. So Trump tells the conservatives everything. Oh, we're going to do this and that. We're going to deal with immigration. America's going to be strong. America first. All that. All bullshit. Same exact thing. Let's see who's in the ascendancy, the liberals or the conservatives, and who just screwed up, and we'll give them the opposite, and we'll tell them the guy's going to say everything. And then when he gets in, he'll do. I mean, the beauty of Donald Trump is that he's just an extraordinary example of American politics. You know what I mean? He didn't just try to finesse it. Well, I know I said this, but I'm going to do a few things that, no, 180 degrees, and screw you. His friends were Candace Owens. His friends were Tucker Carlson. His friends were Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yay! He gets elected. Screw you. I hate your guts. Yeah. It's Ben Shapiro now. Yeah. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. The Ben and Ben, not Ben and Jerry. Ben Shapiro and Benjamin Netanyahu. That's who he loves. Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
And so he came Rubio. The people who despise him, and he's like, all the people who stood for me when these people were trying to throw me in jail. Yeah, fuck you. Yep. I'm with them now.
Yeah.
Which leads you to say to yourself, he was really always with them. And maybe behind it, there was some winking going on. Who knows? But here's the bottom line. And he's made what, $3 to $5 billion in the first year?
I mean, he's outclassed. I always said, it's going to take a lot for Trump to out-corrupt the Clintons and the Bidens, but he did it in 6 months.
Yeah. He's winning. No, he's made them look like nothing. He always says nobody's ever seen anything like that. Nobody's ever seen anything like that.
Nope.
So.
And he's blatant about it. Look how much money we're making.
Yeah. Look at the stock market, which the rich people got all the stocks.
Yeah.
A few people have a 401k, but they're going to collapse that soon. Yeah. I do think that when, it's obvious. They've made up their mind to say, screw the economy. At one point it was like, well, we better be careful to get the gas prices and this and that. Now they're just like, who cares about that? The economy's going to get wrecked, but who cares? Because Israel wants us to do that, and we're in this war, blah, blah, blah. Who cares about the littles? They're going to have to suffer, but that's their job. They're expendable assets. And they ain't assets. They're liabilities to us now because they don't want to do what we want to do. But there's still more of us than there are of them.
Yeah.
And we're going to be running into a few moments where maybe it gets further than a pre-revolutionary moment, because we're going to get into the point, when people, if you get hit with another 2008 on steroids, after what happened before, I don't know what's going to happen in this country, but it ain't going to be pretty, Jim.
I know. I just don't know. Look, they've built, and they're continuing to build what Etienne Balibar, my favorite theorist, called the state of preemptive counter-revolution. In other words, there isn't a revolution in the country, but they're getting ready for it. And they're building the state that's preemptively prepared to crush it. This surveillance stuff, the ICE thing, which is clearly, I saw Alex Jones's son I think it was on Jimmy Dore, and he was saying, they're not going after immigrants. They're going after shooting American citizens. They're taking them out. He said, Obama deported more people than Trump is. He just did it in a more reasonable way. Trump has obviously put these goons out there to demonstrate your rights don't exist anymore. We're going to put a flying squad of thugs that don't have warrants, that don't have badges, that come in and just take you and take your children, and you're a citizen or not a citizen. Well, we're not going to take you. We'll figure that out later. You don't do that. You don't just grab people off the street and take them to some detention camp 1,000 miles away, 500 miles away, and figure out later with a citizen. And people saying, I have my papers. No, I don't want to see them. This is not about immigration. This is about fascist thuggery. This is about a Gestapo force that's being created. And the Holman, the guy who's in charge of it, is a fascist thug. And you don't like what we're doing? Shut up, or we're going to grab you. I mean, so we have to. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that we haven't already seen a Second Amendment response to that. People should fight back against these people. They have to fight back against them. I don't know what to say. At some point, you're going to see people fighting back, standing armed and saying, you're not coming into this fucking neighborhood. And that's fine. That's the right thing as far as I'm concerned. I support the Second Amendment. I support gun rights. And this is where we have to use them. So, this is but this is the entire society. It's very, very difficult because it's going to get worse. As you say, I think the gas prices are going to go crazy. I don't know what they're going to do, but this all goes back to Iran and the Zionist project and defending it and getting rid of Iran as the backbone of the axis of resistance. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But they're putting this Palantir, they're putting this surveillance, these Axon and FLIR flock cameras that are there to set up the control of the American. You saw the thing of the woman who was accused. The cops came to her door and said, we know you're a porch party. We know you stole these. We have it on the. I don't want to hear from. She said, wait a minute. Let me see. No. I know you were in this place. We have cameras in this town. They know everything. Everybody who comes and goes, and we have you on these cameras. And we are certain. I am certain. I don't want to hear from you. And she was right. She proved later on, because after they dragged her in, she was able to show that she hadn't been where they said she was, and it was someone else who looked a little bit like her or whatever. But they were certain because of these flock cameras that they had pictures of her car. You were in this neighborhood. Yeah, I was in the neighborhood doing something else. I mean, so this is going to get worse and worse and worse. And that's what they want. They want absolute total surveillance. Whitney Webb has been very good about this. She's demonstrated this is the child of the total information awareness program that was set up, that Bush tried to put into place, but he couldn't get away with it. So they privatize it. So now it's a private company that's taking all this information. It's not the government. The government can get the information from the private company, however. So, this is what they've done. They have this public-private partnership for surveillance and control. And people have to wake up to this crap. But at some point, people have to fight back. They have to be hurt. They have to feel they're taking casualties too. And they're taking casualties not just in the physical sense, but in an absolute political sense. The structure of the polity, the coherence of the polity is dissolving, is being destroyed. And we have to figure out a way to get it back. And it's being destroyed ideologically, which is the most important thing, in a certain extent. But it has to be destroyed in practical effects. People who take these jobs at ICE, again, they have to know something bad is going to happen to them. They just can't get away with it. The Israelis have to know they can't get away with it. Something bad is going to happen to them. And it's true for the Gestapo police in the United States. It's true for the regular police in the United States. It's true for the politicians and the media people. They have to know something bad is going to happen to them if they continue to ignore and have absolute contempt for the American people.
Well, I think what happens is this. Going into the fall, we see dramatic economic consequences of the war machine, right? And people really feel it. And they really feel the pain, like, holy crap, what's going on? And they start seeing this thing's going to come to pieces. Okay, I'll fix them. I'll vote people. We're going to vote some of these bastards out. And they're going to vote them out, but they ain't going to lose. And I think what happens... Huh?
Who are they
Oh, I
going to
don't.
vote in?
Well,
Who's
no,
there?
the
Who's
problem is
coming in?
this. Even if they vote against them or whatever, it don't matter where they vote. Their votes are going to go where they're intended to go. They're going to say, I want Fetterman out. Let's all vote for the Green Party guy, whatever the hell. And they're all going to vote for them. And it's going to be like, thank you for voting for John Fetterman. And he's going to win. And they're going to be like, but we all voted for what the hell, the poll. No, I think when the people realize their predicament, that it's coming right now, people like us are like, we realize the predicament. You got a bunch of liberals that are like, oh no, come on, it's all Trump. If we just get rid of Trump and we just put Biden or Kamala Harris, if Kamala Harris had won, we'd all be at brunch right now, right? But I think that this business of people need to be, as I hate to say this, they need to understand the hopelessness of resolving this through politics when the voting system is completely controlled. The Democrats stole it in 2016 in the primaries. They stole it in 2020 in the primaries. Then 2024, they didn't even bother. They just said, hey, there you go, Kamala Harris, you're in, right?
Yeah.
There's not, so even if we talk about the voting system,
Yeah.
when you get the process can be pristine. The process can be absolutely perfect, and we can have paper ballots, and they can count them in front of everybody. But the process is so bastardized that when it comes time to vote, you're voting for two people who argue over who loves Israel the most, because that's what you do now.
No, but I'm going to push back on that. If the process were really good, if the process were honest and good and transparent, and everybody had comfort in it, and you had ranked choice voting. This is what happened in New York with Mamdani. If you have ranked choice voting, people could vote. The Green Party, third parties would have a chance. They really would if it was honest. If they couldn't keep them off the ballot, if you had equal access ballot laws, and you have thorough, transparent, well-run voting systems, and ranked choice voting, you would now start to see, because you'd have third parties that were anti-Zionist, period, and no more money to Israel at all. No more arms, no more support. We don't care what happens to the Zionist project. It's not our business. They would win, and they would get a large percentage of the vote. Okay, you can't do that right now because the system is so corrupted and so fixed. Okay, so you have to. I'm sorry, you have to. If you don't, then you're just going to get fighting in the streets. There's no alternative to it. You got to have, if you had a way for the will of the people to actually be expressed as it's developing with ranked choice voting and open and transparent and secure electoral systems, then you'd have a change. That's why they don't want it. They're not fighting against this because it's not important. It is important. And they have the whole system locked up. They've had it locked up within the two parties. They're controlled by the donors. The donors are the producers of the show. The two parties are, the various agents for various actors, and they do their auditions in the primaries. Before that, they audition going to cocktail parties with the ruling class, and then they put a set them up in the primaries, and then they give you the show. But this is, it's not unimportant that it's not irrelevant. It's not something. It would change the political landscape if you could really have contested elections, fairly contested and fairly run elections, and you had ranked choice voting, which would do away with the whole, wasting my vote on a third party. It would do away with that. You vote for whom you really want, and if that person does well, guess what? That's going to work. That party is going to move up the ladder quickly, because those attitudes are among the populace. They're very large among the populace, and that would be the anti-Zionist thing is the prime example of it now. But among other things, anti-surveillance. That's among
the data centers. People are pushing back against the data centers in their communities now. We're getting more. We're getting protests against them and all that. I agree with you, except there's one issue. And you know what I think, Jim? Yes, I agree with you, but I think we're past that. I think there may have been a time when that could have happened, but I think we're now to a time where we're in crash stage. You know what I mean? We're in collapse stage. We're in the stage where the wheels are coming off the cart. Trump and his team, look at the Biden, Blinken, and Sullivan. people, right? Corruption, insane fascists, warmongers and neocons. Trump comes in, he's doing the same thing. He's now got an inner circle. You know, Marco Rubio, I mean, just pure warmongers. The people that he said he wasn't are exactly who he is now, right? And they're in a downward spiral. So yes, it's nice to talk about that. And I agree with you. Had it been some earlier point before the spiral got this close, you know what I mean? Now we're at a point where can you manage a spiral? Or can you just kind of evaluate and say, oh boy, this is going to be ugly? You know, I'm at a point where I'm looking and I'm like, you know, this is what we got. Let me show you. Marco Rubio, if there were more countries like Israel, the world would be a safer and better place. A true friend of Israel,
really?
Right? That's the government that we have now.
I know.
When that's the government that you got,
I know. Well,
you
look,
ain't no way out of that one.
I would say even what I want in terms of a decent electoral system is not going to happen unless there's fighting in the streets. I mean, and that's the only condition under which they would let it happen. I said when I wrote about the January 6th, whatever, I said, you know, Donald Trump has lost this election by 44,000 votes in 3 states. I really don't know what the condition, whether he was cheated or not, but it's quite possible given what I know about the electoral. I didn't look into that carefully, but it's quite possible. It's very easy to change 44,000 votes in 3 states, you know. And so, but the point is, and this was a demonstration about people who thought they'd voted the election had been stolen, which you should demonstrate against if you think it's been stolen. And maybe this chaos will bring them to really take account of the electoral system and do something to change it. No, it didn't. They didn't just forgot about it. They just said, "Oh, they're all wrong. This is just bullshit. They're not going to do it." You know. And so after 2000, when everybody thought probably correctly that Bush had stolen the election, 2004, when Kerry, the Democrats thought and were probably correct that the election was stolen in Ohio, and did the same thing, came in on January 6th, 2005, and said, Barbara Boxer, backed up by civil rights, I'm not going to vote to verify this election. I'm not going to ratify this election. But they just didn't bring the pitchforks, because at the end of the day, elections aren't important to them. You see, so all of this, you know, now Donald Trump did bring the pitchforks, but he only did it because he was interested in himself. And this is the problem. They're not interested in really discussing and grappling with the issue and solving it in a way that everybody's going to feel comfortable and confident about. They're interested in finding the angle that's going to work. They think is going to work for them and for their party or for them personally. And that's what we're in. And that's not going to stop 100% until and unless they're forced by fighting in the streets. Okay, we've got to at least give them a reasonable electoral system, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Exactly. At this point, I think the oligarchs are at a point where we say, okay, things are going to the point where they're going to be unstable, and they're like, yeah, you're right, so we're going to have to crush you. It's not like, well, you're right, they're unstable, so perhaps we should, think about moving the system around a little bit. No, they're focused on China. Yeah. Well, no, you don't understand. We got to take Iran and do this and that, because then Russia's over here. Then we got to prepare to attack China. We're using weapons over here that we really need to have in the Pacific so we can attack China. And then people are here like, hey, we're living in our cars here. People are like living in their cars in the shopping center. Literally, I know an old shopping center, and one of the only things left there is a gym, a Gold's Gym. There's cars that park at night. They buy $40, $50 a month for Gold's Gym because it's 24 hours.
Yeah.
They live in their car, and they can go in there and get a shower. They can get a drink of water. They can come in and out the bathroom, whatever one they use. And they just park out in this huge parking lot by the old mall by Gold's Gym for 24-hour access. Right. And we're like, that's a problem. And they're like, shut up. Yeah, we got to finish with this so we can go to bed, and then we're after. It's never been better. Trump's answer is he's doing the same thing that Biden did during the election. People were like, "Hey, the economy's screwed," and the Democrats said, "Oh no, it's not. Here, just go to our website. We got. You just don't understand. We got things to demonstrate you just how good you got." And what's Trump the other day? China's stealing everything, and Iran and China and Russia, they've got a right to do that. They've got the capacity to steal the election, and we can't have that. And the economy's great and better than ever. And I'm like, you've turned into Joe Biden. Except you're just changing the words. Russia stole the election till China. And I saw Trump a couple days over. He didn't write that speech. I saw him a couple days afterwards. And somebody saying, so President Trump, are you saying that China stole the election? He's like, nah, I mean, maybe they did do something or whatever, but nah. And he like completely reversed. Yeah, he completely reversed it. So do you think China stole our election? They didn't steal the election. I mean, they might have did something or whatever, but nah, they didn't steal the election. Now, he's giving a speech. China, they must be stopped. They stole everything. They did this, they did that. A couple of days later, it's bullshit, whatever. That's where we are now.
I know. And you know, I don't know what they think they're going to do about China, but they're lost. Forget it. It's over. I mean, China's so far ahead of us that, you know, it's almost impossible, virtually impossible to catch up. And the look at the difference in the way that the economy and the political economy is run. China wants an industry. They invest in the industry. They organize. They organize and bring together all of the elements that are necessary. They get they fund the academic programs that will train the engineers. They fund the regions where they want this to be located. There's a very coordinated policy that's state directed, that's run on the behalf of the public, let's do this industry. And the Americans are like, let's get these three guys who have started these AI companies, and let's, you know, let them be trillionaires, and we'll hook up with them, and we'll figure some way to boondoggles for them to plant their data centers around the country, because they contributed to my campaign, and they're going to contribute to they're going to funnel money to me on the side or whatever, and we'll have data centers. And that's our industrial policy. That's not an industrial policy. China has an industrial policy. They have a social economic policy. And then they come to, this is wonderful what's happened with the AI. You see this guy from OpenAI wrote this long tweet the other day saying China is screwing us up because they're making this open source. They're making this a public good. AI is going to be like electricity or water. It's going to be a public good. And it's not a profit center for individual companies to make a profit. It's something that the entire country can use because it's open source. The entire world can use it. So all of these Sam Blankman and all of these Palantir and Peter Thiel, they're all saying, what am I going to do? You know, how can we bake back? This is the bubble that we're in with the stock market. I mean, I don't know, 30% of the value of the stock market are these AI companies and NVIDIA, and that's all going to collapse because they're not going to make any money off it. China's AI is available. It's very good. It's now beat, I think, on the benchmark test. It's beat the Americans, and it's cheap. So these countries have these companies have no way of making back the investments that were put in them. And this is trillions of dollars. It's just nuts. So we're facing much worse than 2008 in terms of
I think that's where we're going. I think we're going in this very serious situation as far as economically. And when that happens, I think that old our guy, what's his name, Peter Turchin, is that whatever it is? Peter Turchin is right. I think there will be some level of violence. You know what's interesting is I'm not in favor of violence. I don't want violence, but I'm not in favor of getting bit by a rattlesnake. But if you put your foot in front of a rattlesnake, he's going to bite you. It's not what I'm in favor of. This is the nature of the world that we live in, right? And I think that what you're looking at is this: they're going to push people to the edge, to the point of poverty, to the point of economic destruction, and then the nature will take its course, and there will be some level. And they think that they can use Axon and flock cameras, and they can look at us on their phone, and somehow that's going to stop people who don't have food, who can't feed their kids, who are living in their cars. Somehow that's going to stop them. As was it Baldwin who said the worst thing a country can create is a man. He put it was a man who has nothing left to lose. That's what they're creating, a country of people who are looking at these billionaires, and might I add, literal trillionaires, and saying, I can't feed my family. What else do I have to lose? I got nothing else to lose. And once people don't have anything else to lose, like the Iranians, you're like, we're going to kill you. We're going to take everything you have and overthrow your government and put some brutal dictator who's going to kill you. And they're like, well, we're going to die. We're going to die fighting, because that ain't no way to live. That's the dilemma you create for people. And we know what happens with that. And I think I truly believe at this point, we can discuss how we could reform things. Reform is not revolution. Revolution ain't clean. And I think we ain't heading towards reform. No, let me change this. The system will not reform. This is a system that stops reform. The Democrats stop anybody who wants to reform. These people, we can take over the Democratic Party and change No, you can't. No. Take over the Republican Party. No. Oh, but they're rhinos. No, they're not the rhinos. You're the rhino. That is the party, right?
Yes.
They're Democrats in name only. No. That is the Democratic Party. You ain't. If you oppose that and you think somehow they're Republicans in name only. No, they are the true Republicans. That's what the party is. Accept it. That's why you got to get the hell out of it. That's what the Democratic Party is. Don't try to pretend like it's really something else and it's gone rogue. No. It's what it's always been.
Yeah, there's no hidden element of New Deal social democracy in the Democratic Party anywhere. There isn't, and there's no hidden element of free speech in the Republican Party.
Liberty.
There's no hidden element of that. That's bullshit. The parties are institutionally committed to capitalism, imperialism, and Zionism, and they will crush anybody different ways. The Republicans were going to crush, anti-communist, send everybody to jail and get rid of the communists, and the Democrats will give you a bear hug and smother you, and that's what their job is. That's what their role is within the American political system. So, but the problem is, again, you need a political leadership. You need an organized, call it a party. That's what a revolutionary party is. It's an organized party which has an orientation, has a perspective that is coherent, and can be a pole of attraction to the masses of people, knows how to do that. And we have to understand on the left in this country that there is the left is politically non-existent to a certain extent. The Democratic Party is not the left. It's not going to be the left. Trying to make it the left is not going to work. You have to create a political movement that has some kind of, we need, we can have a program that's quite easy to put forward, health insurance, wages,
education, basic things, education, housing, basic things.
Eliminate the debt slave society, cancel student debt, cancel medical debt, eliminate the debt slave society. But you got to get out of the taxpayer money ideology. This is what's killed all over. Bezos wrote an article, the Washington Post. Oh, this is why you can't have Medicare for all, because there's not enough money to tax the billionaires to pay for it. It's not taxes aren't the answer to Medicare for all, and they're right. Taxes aren't the answer to Medicare for all. You don't need taxes. Don't pay for government programs, federal government programs, and their billionaires don't have enough money to pay for it. And that's what you got to get out of. But this is very bad. And the Democrats and anybody who thinks they're going to protect any kind of social democratic program like Social Security or Medicare got to get out of this notion that taxes pay for it, because they're going to kill you on that. They are killing you on that, and it's not true. And Roosevelt himself said it. All these trust funds are for politics. They're not economics. They're economically unnecessary. This is political. So it looks like it's morally impossible to oppose it because everybody's paying for it. That's not what's happening. That's not how the system works. And you got to get out of that. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is one of the things we're fighting. You're going to be fighting over.
How about this? Are they saying that when they put $550 billion into
Exactly.
these data centers? Did they say, where do we get that? Oh, Trump. Pete Hegseth the other day. The only way America can be great is if you give us another $1.5 trillion. Did they say, oh, where's that money going to come from? No, they only say that
That's
when
right.
we're like, hey, people need health care. Who's going to pay for that? Where are we going to get that money from? Oh, well,
Yeah.
how about people need, decent schools, and how about some education? Oh my God, we can't just throw money at education. Well, we can throw money at the military. We can throw money everywhere that you want. We can throw money at Silicon Valley like it's never been printed before. But God knows, if we want to get poor kids breakfast at school or some such thing like that, that would probably be a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, how are we going to pay for that? Those little greedy little bastards, let them starve.
But I got to say it again. You cannot deal with this unless you understand none of it is paid for with taxes. The military, Social Security, Medicare, taxes do not pay for federal government programs. The federal government creates the money that taxes are paid with. Taxes can't be the source of federal government money. I don't create money. It doesn't come out of my pocket. Taxpayers don't create money. The federal government creates money. Taxpayers give some of that back. But everybody's got to get this straight. And that's why, and it's because all of this, Social Security, within 10 years, we're going to have to cut everybody's Social Security. No, you don't. This has nothing to do with it. But the ideology is very strong. This is being paid for by taxes or by debt, by what they call debt, which is selling treasury bonds. That's not debt in the same way it is for you or I. So it's not that. None of that pays. The government the federal government pays for money with the money it creates by spending. And deficits are good. Deficits mean it's spent more into the economy than it's taken back in taxes. That's a good thing. That means there's money left in the economy. It's absolutely senseless to balance the budget every year, to take all the money back that you put in. But that money can come from nowhere else but the federal government. That's what a fiat money system is, and that's what we have. Now, it's all more complicated because on the state level, it's true. And on the city level and on the local level, taxes have to be paid for the services that the city and the state provides if they don't come from the federal government. If the money doesn't come from the federal. Anyway, but this is the point. Everybody has to start thinking about this. This is correct. This is the way the fiat money is. It's not a proposal that I'm making. It's not a proposal that modern monetary theory makes. It's the fact of the fiat money system. The federal government creates U.S. dollars. That's where the money for taxes to be paid comes from.
If you think about it, Jim, the people that talk about they want to get rid of this and create a digital currency, that's what they're saying. They're like, they're going to crash our system. Okay, then they're going to create a digital currency and give everybody a digital currency. You're still saying they're going to create money. You're saying after they crash the system, they'll create money.
Well, yeah, but the digital currency thing is not about the money.
No, I understand that.
We have a digital currency.
I agree.
Money,
but
it's money.
Exactly.
It's about surveillance. What they want is the technology that they can use to turn off and turn on and to prevent you from buying certain things. They want surveillance and control.
Yeah.
It's not the digital thing about it is, we have a digital currency. That's what Bernanke and that's what say we don't
effectively we do. I agree.
We sit on a computer and we put money into the account. That's the way the system works. That's digital. But what they want is this
fully digital, where it can't even be paperized,
system, which enables them to debank people and to defund people. So that's
even at that. But my point was, but they're still talking about creating the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'd still create it. Now, after that, now they don't have to debank you because they got their hold on the actual money. So they don't have to say to the bank, turn Jim's money off, don't turn Jim's money off. They can put things in that money that says we put restrictions on that inside the digital money itself. So that it's not that it has nothing to do with the bank. Oh, so I've got X amount of money, but $500,000 worth of digital currency in my bank. But they say, but you know what? That money can't be used anymore for the Waymo driverless taxis, which is all you're going to be able to ride in, but you can't. But doggone it, Jim, you went to that protest for anti-Zionism, so your digital currency won't work for those for 30 days.
Exactly.
But that guy over there as well.
They're doing it with this guy. What's his name? The Spanish, the guy who's the heir to the Cox Entertainment fortune.
Yes,
He lives
yes.
in Spain. So they can cut your. That's what they're doing to the countries. They can cut your banking off as long as you're using the dollar. So they want to be able to do that more
With the dollar,
and more
yes.
precisely,
Yep.
and more, etc. That's what the danger of the so-called digital currency is. But one has to be careful. The answer to that is not, we got to back everything with gold. No, it's not. And we get into that. And that says the fact of a fiat currency is not something that's bad in itself. It's how it's managed and how it's controlled and who controls it. And if you were in a democratic society where the system was managed democratically and transparently, that would be a good thing. You make choices about that, and you manage the system. It puts you in control of the money system. And the question is, because everything else, a so-called democratic society, it's not really under the democratic control of the people or the people's representatives. They create these complicated systems of where it's not. It's very unclear who's controlling it at any given time, and.
And look, we all know people who do work here and there, and they say, I need you to whatever, put a transmission in my car, and the person says, sure, no problem. How much is it? And the person says, you paying cash or using a card?
Yeah,
I'm paying cash. Yep. Okay, great. In that case, here's your price. Why? Because you know what's going on. You're going to give them cash. They're going to do whatever they do with the cash. But that's possible. It allows us a freedom with the digital currency. If you so much as transfer a penny of your digital currency over to Jim, thanks for giving on the show. I'm going to give you $5. They're going to see that, and they're going to know, and it's going to be embedded in the metadata. You had to put what it was for, and it's going to be like, hey, Garland, you sent me $5, but I only got $3. And it's like, okay, the government has taken their taxes out. They took for this, they took for that, and out of that. You know what I mean? They can do that. Now, if you remember, Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats had a bill in a while back, and it said anything, I think it was over $300 that went in your account, that the government, into your bank account, any transaction over like $300 or $400 in your bank account, would automatically, all that information would go to the government. Again, you pay some guy to fix your transmission, install a air conditioner in your house, whatever. They see it, they're going to tax these people. What'd you do this or that for? And I think that's that's the digital currency thing, that now they can take their part out of everything.
Yeah, well, but everybody has to understand for the monetary system to work, you do have to have certain kinds of limits and controls on it. Okay.
Yes.
That's control. That's capital controls. And that's why you move $100,000. You should know, the government should know.
Yes, it's 10 now. I think 10 cash.
It's $10,000 now. Whatever
cash,
the number is. This is the point. If you had a democratic system where your representatives and the people managing the economy on behalf of your representatives were really, people were first of all educated, understood how it worked, and they were able to see and transparently how they're making these decisions and what the policies are. You don't want trillionaires to secretly spend $500 million on a yacht without you knowing about it. You have to be able to tax in that system. Taxing in the system is to prevent inequality, to take money back from people who have too much of it, money that we created and we have the right to, because that went into the economy as a decision of the polity. It was not created in Elon Musk's pocket. It went into the economy, and Elon Musk's money's a social tool, and Elon Musk doesn't have the right to accumulate 90% of the shovels in the company. That's a social tool. Money is a social tool, and there should be limits on how much you can have. That's how much you can make. There should be a floor on it. You should have a minimum income and a maximum income, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's when Turchin,
asymptotically maximum income. As we had in 1945, 94% of every dollar you made over $250,000 was taxable.
Well, Turchin talks about, and this is what he talks about, the wealth pump. Basically being, something we talk about where you literally have an economy that's set up to extract money from the working class and pump it up to the pump it up to the millionaires and the billionaires. And so that's where we are. But Jim Kavanagh, I think we've run to the end of our hour. Tell everybody where they can find you.
At my Substack, which is on the screen, and on X at the polemicist _. I also have Rumble and YouTube. See me there.
All right, everybody. Thanks for all of my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. Everybody who takes the time out to support this channel, it's highly appreciated and allows me to keep going and have people like the great Jim Kavanagh here. PayPal, whatever, however you can. It's all scrolling across the bottom. And of course, my even I have a snail mail PO box for the snail mailers. Thanks a lot, everybody. We're out. Share it on all your social media platforms. Also, we're out.